During its 90-year history, the BBC has become one of Britain's most treasured institutions. But in recent weeks, the broadcaster hasn't been so much reporting the news as making it, having landed in what some say is the worst crisis in its history, deserving of headlines that speak of chaos and turmoil. The crisis began in October when allegations emerged about a longtime BBC presenter, Jimmy Savile. Police believe Savile may have abused as many as 300 people in 4 decades, including underage participants on BBC programmes. The BBC was criticised for failing to make public its own investigations into Savile. Then, early this month, the BBC aired a programme falsely accusing a British politician of child abuse. It later emerged that the politician had been misidentified. The programme Newsnight made an unreserved apology. Stuart Purvis is an academic and former broadcaster who says the 2 controversies, both related to child abuse allegations, have caused a crisis of trust in the BBC. Speaking to VOA, he says it's a new kind of debacle for the publicly funded broadcaster.
The theme that's run throughout the history of the BBC has been about relationship between the BBC and the government of the day. Number of points in history where there's been tension. This isn't about that, actually. It's absolutely about the relationship between the BBC and its viewers and listeners. And that's why some people think it's the biggest crisis there's been, this crisis of trust.
In order to regain that trust, many say the BBC must make changes to a complex and overfull management system. Already heads have fallen as a result of the crisis. After just 54 days in the job, Director General George Entwistle resigned his post. The head of news and her deputy have also stepped aside. Speaking on the BBC, its chairman, Chris Patton, said the organisation has to reform.
If you're saying, does the BBC need a thorough, structural, radical overhaul, then absolutely it does. And
that's what it will take for the BBC to get through this in one piece, says Purvis.
I think the fact is the current crop of BBC leaders are not up to the job. There will have to be a new regime, if you like, at the BBC, and if that regime is any good, it will win back the trust.
On the street, opinion about the BBC's reputation is mixed.
I think we should value the BBC. It's a fantastic institution.
Don't really trust them as much as I used to.
Now the BBC is working hard to win that trust back. Selah Hennessy for VOA News, London.